Welcome back to episode 35, the Homes Podcast. We got some new faces here. I want to start with the left of me, Khadijah. Now, permanent host or just like
no, we're here.
Oh, you're
we're
here. Oh, that's your seat now.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. My name is on it.
There you go. Introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Khadijah Johnson. I am a local real estate agent, and I also run a business called Okay, Let's Talk, in which we partner with schools and after-school organizations to teach the students about real estate.
Love it. Love it.
Thank you.
David's still here, but just today couldn't make it. But we have a special guest today. His name goes by Maximilian Fay.
Maximilian Fay, yes.
Are you French?
The name would make you think I'm many things.
Okay.
I'm a nice, healthy mix of everything European.
There you go. Perfect.
Yes.
And you've been in the real estate business for some time.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm also a local realtor with Hunt Real Estate ERA on your home team. I'm also a landlord on a mission to lower the rent in my hometown.
Wow. Okay. That's a huge mission.
Mm-hmm. It is.
I guess let's just jump into it. How do you do that?
So little drops of water eventually will overfill a bucket. So the thought process is one step at a time, one building at a time. I currently own one multifamily property, and I rent it well below market rate, enough to make a profit, enough to be happy with the money that I receive, but not so much that I feel like I am exploiting people who might not be in as advantageous a position as me for every dollar that they're worth. And the goal is to, over time, leverage the equity I have in that property and any future properties to buy more properties and do the same thing with those. In theory, eventually, when you end up with 6, 8 multifamily properties, up 12 to 20 units, and everyone knows there's a place where you can get cheaper rent, the demand will start to lessen for these properties that are charging exorbitant rates.
Yeah. Where were you when I was renting?
Probably renting myself.
Come on. I mean, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just thinking of where rents have gone in the past 5 years and you being almost a staple now to want to lower rents within your properties and then kind of be the signal call for low rents, but I guess nice properties, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. You don't want to sacrifice quality of living for the tenants just so that you can charge nothing, because that's currently your only option as a renter is you pay very little and your landlord never raises your rent, but you live in constant fear that if I complain about this leaky toilet, if I complain about this unstable floor, he'll raise my rent and I won't be able to afford it. Or you have the money to afford to pay a larger rent rate and live in a nicer place, but then you're paying what is, in my opinion, more than you should for rent. I believe that there are people who are never going to own a property. I believe everyone should have the right to. I believe that not everyone needs to. You don't necessarily have the need. Some people don't want to handle the upkeep. Some people want that to be taken care of for them. Some people just don't have the desire. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Sadly, we live in a world where it's very possible that a lot of people will never have the ability. And those people deserve the ability to still live in a reasonable, affordable manner without sacrificing quality of housing.
Yes.
Yeah. So obviously, like Max, hey,
Hi,
we are on the same real estate team, and I know a lot.
Yes.
About what you've been doing, definitely with this property. So can you just walk us through, how did you buy this property? Because you didn't buy it the same way that most people have a home.
Absolutely not. So I consider myself a nice combination of alert and blessed. So what I mean by that is I'm not naive enough to say that I wasn't lucky to obtain a property in the way that I did, but I also was always alert and aware of what opportunities are around me. Because as much as it fell into my lap, if I wasn't able to grab it, it wouldn't have mattered. It would have hopped right away. So I bought it from my sister's in-laws. So my sister married into a family, And her and her husband lived in the upstairs apartment of the duplex that I now own. And in the downstairs lived the grandmother matriarch of the family, as well as an aunt, so one of the grandmother's daughters. And the thought process was my sister upstairs was going to continue to live in the upstairs until her and her husband could afford to purchase a home. So they were up there. Eventually time goes on, and not so surprisingly, unfortunately, the grandmother of the family had passed. So now she had it set up so that the property was split between 3 different people on her passing, which was my sister's mother-in-law, the aunt who lived in the downstairs, and I believe the third was one of the granddaughters in the family. This was the only person I did not personally know, but it was separated 3 ways. And the very first thing that happened was they were like, who wants the house? Does anyone in the family want the house? It had been in their family for generations. Well, the aunt could not afford it. Most of the other people in the family already had a home, and my sister and her husband, who had been living there, did not want a multifamily, did not want a property in the area that they were in. They were tired of where they lived, and they were all set to go buy another property. So they were intending to, those signs you see, I'll buy your home now, fast, cash, as is. That was their plan, because no one wanted to deal with it. No one wanted to put in the work. So at a family barbecue one day, I overhear the intent, and they are going to do that after my sister and her husband have bought a home. So they're going to stay there and handle the mortgage up until that point, but then as soon as that's done, boom, property's gone. I overhear this, and I go to my sister's mother-in-law, who kind of handled all of it, and I said, hey, look, not for nothing, you're going to get very little for this property. I'm not convinced you'll get as much as you currently owe when you're selling to someone in that type of situation. If let me buy it, I'll pay you more than they'll pay you. You can still sell it to me for a reasonable rate, and everybody wins. I won't drag out the sale on you. We'll make it as smooth, as seamless as possible. This was before I was a realtor. So
I was gonna say,
yes, I've had this dream, I've had this vision of reasonable rent for years before I was a real estate agent. In fact, becoming a real estate agent for me personally is more of a means to an end to educate myself on the process and landlordship in general. If for whatever reason, which I do not anticipate, but if for whatever reason 3-5 years from now I decided to stop being an agent, I would almost view it as if I had gone to college. The point wasn't to be a full-time realtor, so to speak. The point was to learn the ins and outs of my true passion, my true goal, which is housing. So she agreed. She said that the home had $80,000 left on it, and all she wanted was to make sure that no one in the family had a mortgage, and that was really the big deal. So I said, absolutely 100% not a problem. I needed something called seller's concessions at the time because it fell into my lap in a time where I wasn't necessarily fully prepared for it. Yeah. So I had a lot of money saved up, but not enough for what I needed. Seller's concessions is when the seller takes a percentage of the purchase price and gives it to you to help cover closing costs. And based on the different loan products, it's limited to how much a seller is allowed to give. I don't know those numbers. Go talk to a mortgage associate, but
FHA 6%, conventional 3%.
Yep. So there you go. There you go. And I was FHA.
Okay.
So I was FHA. Yep. And I think that was the large reason because my credit wasn't too bad, but I needed more concessions. Yep. So I offered her $90,000. I said, don't care what you do with the extra, but this will make sure that there's enough to cover the concessions. You guys all get, because I think by the time it was bought, the mortgage was around like 75. I was like, split the thousands however you see fit. It went into some grandkids' college funds, etc. Awesome. But let's just do it. At the time that I had made this arrangement, I was renting. I lived with roommates and my then girlfriend, now wife. And eventually what I did was I moved into the downstairs apartment where the grandmother was living, and I rented from them to help pay off the mortgage. And made it a seamless transition to once I owned the home, I had already been living there. Eventually, my upstairs neighbors, my sister and her husband, had secured the home they were going to buy. once that had happened, we began my home buying process. And so I bought a 2-family property for $90,000.
Wow.
Incredibly lucky, yes.
So awesome.
When did you buy that? Last year? Or?
In January of 2024. So I've owned it for a little over a year now.
Cool. Damn. I mean, a lot of people would like to say I own a 2-family for under 100,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now, as lucky as I do consider myself, which is incredibly.
Yeah.
When we got the property appraised at the time, it was appraised for right. It was appraised for $130,000. Now I'm definitely not one to scoff at $40,000. Yeah. But I do feel if I had to buy it for what it was quote unquote worth at the time, what it was appraised at, I still feel confident I could have swung that.
Yeah.
I don't think the leap there from the lending perspective would have been too much for me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
It's similar to mine because, long story short, I was able to purchase a property last year, 2-family. I lived in it for 5 years, and the landlord, he was looking for another property to buy for his purchase his forever home with his wife.
Got it.
But he needed to sell that in order to
get the money.
So
that's exactly what I'm saying.
I was in there long enough to understand the intricacies of the house, what he has done, and then
it's perfect.
It was almost
that's
perfect.
awesome.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Where that's lucky. It's very fortunate.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to be always looking for those opportunities.
Yep.
Or else you can't be woe is me. Oh,
Yes.
So true.
well.
Yeah.
You have to always be alert and ready to jump at that when you see it.
I always say that too. If you're not, like you said, if you're not prepared, then if you're not prepared to fail, you fail to or plan. When you fail to plan,
you're planning to fail.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
Basically, whatever. Long story short, if I wasn't ready financially to be in that position to strike while the iron was hot, I wasn't gonna be able to. I was gonna pass up on that opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's kind of like what you said too when it came to your story. You needed to obviously be alert, but also have the funds and the means necessary to do what you did.
Right.
Absolutely.
If not, it would have just blew right past you.
Yeah. And now that's part 1 because there's more.
There's always
There's more to the story. So that was January of last year.
Yes.
We're now September of 2025.
Yes.
What's going on now?
Okay. So I have recently completed a renovation of the property. I redid entirely the downstairs kitchen, all new cabinets, all new appliance, all new floor, ceiling, lighting. And I switched out the bathtub. It was just a shower. Now it's a tub in the downstairs bathroom because the old one was like crappy. In the upstairs kitchen, I have a new floor and all new appliances, but the cabinets were fine. I left those. And I completely redid their entire bathroom. So once again, walls, ceiling, tub, toilet. I think the only thing that stayed was the vanity because the vanity was fine. But did a complete renovation. So the goal with this property was to take the equity that I had amassed in the first property, leverage it through a loan to get enough money to make a down payment on my next multifamily venture. That's always been my wife and I's goal. We have a 5-year plan that is 5 properties in 5 years, and we're still working on property 2 this year. I do still believe that we will at least be under contract for a property by the end of this year.
You got 4 months.
Would be fine by me. Hey, I'm there. So
TikTok.
What ended up happening was I had a plumbing problem in my property, and it was very unique. In between the floor, so in the pipes that run up from the first floor to the second floor, there was a leak that sprung. This leak, however, because of the amount of pressure in that pipe, didn't spring where the leak was. It shot out like a stream about 12 feet away.
Oh.
Get out.
Yeah. So one day I'm in my kitchen and above me there's a leak. And so I go upstairs. I see water dripping. I go upstairs. I check their toilet, their sink, their kitchen sink, their dishwasher, everything that is directly above me, and I find no water. I am excessively confused. And the leak seems to come and go. I have a plumber come in. He takes down some of the ceiling, can't find the leak. It seems to have stopped. So we shut off the water to find it. We shut off the water, turn it back on. There's this whole thing. We can't seem to find it. It stops. We let it go for a little while. Eventually, the ceiling starts to come down, and they're having serious problems in their floor. So now I call an emergency plumber, different guy, who finds the problem and fixes it. At this point, there was mold throughout my entire kitchen ceiling. Ooh. Now, my insurance covered that entirely. So I called a mold remediation. We got a quote. It was a pain. It took them months to agree to do it because it was like a $12,000 mold remediation. Ooh. But they covered all of it. But what they did not cover at all was the remodel. Yeah. So I had no kitchen ceiling. Their floor was messed up. And I didn't know what to do. So thankfully, now at this time, I was an agent. So I leveraged my team, my resources, my company to find the best avenue forward. And I decided to do what is called a HELOC, home equity line of credit. So the people who I did a HELOC through, Hunt Mortgage, they do it with a blind valuation. So they don't actually send anyone to do an appraisal of your home. This is why I wanted to do that instead of a refinance, because if you looked at my property in this moment in time, there was no kitchen ceiling. It would be considered worth much less than I feel it should be when I'm just trying to get the money to do those repairs. So they valued my property astonishingly to me at $240,000. Oh, wow. So I bought it for $90,000 a year prior. I had made for existing, for living, for having my upstairs tenants cover my mortgage, and paying for electrical, for living less than everyone else. I made $150,000 in a year to my name. I took a big HELOC and decided on top of fixing the problem, that's when I was going to do the renovations. Now that the renovations are done, I think my evaluation pegs it at least 280, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was higher. That's my modest estimate because I like to play closer to the chest rather than dream big. And I'm now going to go get a cash out refinance with a proper appraisal and pay off my first mortgage and my HELOC, bundle them into one monthly payment because currently it's two. It'll be at a lower interest rate, probably higher than my first mortgage, but definitely lower than my HELOC. HELOCs are at a relatively high mortgage rate. Take that money, use that down payment, next property. So that's what I have just finished.
So proud of you.
Thank you. Congrats. And in summary, what you did was the Burr method.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. We absolutely practice, preach, try the Burr method.
Yep.
You bought it cheap. You rehabbed it. I mean, after the leak and some, some misfats, but you rehabbed it and then you rented it out. But you're not renting it out market value. You're doing it below market value.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So in essence, are you attaining what you can get for that property or?
No, for sure I'm not. I am currently charging $950 for the unit upstairs. It is a 3-bedroom. I was including utilities, so I'm charging $1,150, but it's pretty on the money on average. So realistically, $950. Security deposit was $950. Especially after the remodel, if I wanted to in downtown Schenectady right now, like if that was empty and I were to redo it, I could get $1,500 for it. I'm extremely confident. And maybe more if I really wanted to sit on it for a while. Now, if I were to rent it today post remodel, I probably would be closer to the $1,050, $1,100, just because I'm now paying the second mortgage and everything is much nicer as opposed to where it was. But even still, I don't even want to come close to what I would call the market value. Yeah.
Not a lot of people would think like you.
I'm one of a kind.
Yeah.
That's it.
Why do it that way? Just out of curiosity. I know you have a big heart, but
I appreciate that. So I did not grow up wealthy, not by a long shot. But the word I like to use, privileged. I grew up privileged. My parents had a pretty messy divorce that lost them both a lot of money and made my father change jobs. So my father's a collector of many, many weird, macabre things. And he kind of bought and sold them on the side, but he was a graphic designer by trade. And he would, like 4 times a week, train up to New York City to do his design work, where he would get paid like $115 an hour for it, working about 20 hours a week. I mean, it was very steady. Yeah. My parents both came from wealth to a degree. My grandfather on one side worked at GE with the first sets of computers. On the other side was a lawyer in a small town, and he was like one of the only lawyers there. So both sides of my family had wealth. When I was born, we had a big house, huge house. My father still owns it. Many things going for us. In divorce, they both spent all of their inheritances fighting for custody just to get split custody, but that's a different life lesson. And my father had to, just to make ends meet, he couldn't keep driving to New York or training to New York because he had us during the school week. So he started just full-time buying and selling his collectibles. So I always had food on the table. I lived in a giant house with a pool. When I was in band, my father brought me a drum set. When I started to learn piano, my father, as a graduation present, bought me a $1,000 beautiful electric piano. I definitely did not grow up poor. I'm like that. I'm very middle class. But there was no excess, no safety. When hard times was hitting, hard times were hitting. So when I went to college, which I did for a short period of time, but I decided to stop going to college to just fully enter the workforce. And I've been working basically my entire adult life. When I went out and got an apartment for myself, it was almost like a wake-up call. I got to see, to sound as arrogant as humanly possible, I got to see how the other side lived, what it's like to not be spoon-fed. And my father had the money to cover him, not the money to cover me. So wasn't really helping with groceries, rent, utilities, any of that.
You were on your own.
I was on my own. Yeah, for the first time in my life.
Yeah.
And I realized how awful it was. And my rent was cheap. I rented, it's the exact start of the conversation where you should not be sacrificing quality of housing for a price. I was doing exactly that because I had no choice. There was a time in my life where myself and my wife were 2 of 8 roommates living in a house together just to make the rent cheap. That was the last place we were living before we bought our house. Wow. Just so that we could afford to save to buy our property. And I kind of, somewhere in the middle of renting, I had the understanding that in spite of the fact that it's hard on me right now, I still own a lot of physical items that are worth a lot of money, because just like my father, I'm an avid collector. So I wheel and deal stuff all the time. I sold a ton of stuff to get the down payment for my house. Ton of stuff.
All those Yu-Gi-Oh cards?
Magic. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. I sold $7,000 worth of Magic cards. Wow. So that I could, and I miss them dearly, so that I could, but you know, I bought a house. I regret nothing.
Yeah, that's a good trade-off.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. So it's exactly it. I decided I have privilege. I'm going to use that privilege, leverage what I came up with to be the reason that the single mother of 3 can get back on her feet, to be the reason that some college kid can afford to live his life and pay his rent and not have a terrible situation. It fills me with glee. And now, from a business perspective, if you really want to get analytical instead of the big hard approach, I've had the same tenants for a year and a half from when I first bought the house. They told me the only way they're leaving that apartment is if it is in another property I own. They take care of the place. They're responsible. They're rent on time every time. And they tell me when they're ready to buy a home, they're doing it with me. Wow. And then once they go buy that home and I've made money helping them buy a home, I rinse, repeat. Right. I'm giving myself a steady amount of clientele. I'm getting tenants for life that understand my mission, respect me for it, respect my property for it. Now, I've had sticky situations. It's nature of the game, but the way most people would minimize risk is to maximize profit, so that when risk comes up, you've got a big nest egg.
Absolutely.
I'm minimizing risk by minimizing risk, by making it less likely that people are going to want to do something to screw me over.
I like the story.
Brilliant.
It's very similar to my path.
I love that. I love that to death.
No, because it's how old are you?
27. Okay. I just turned 27.
Oh, happy late birthday.
Thank you.
When was your birthday?
August 6th.
Oh wow, we should have bought him a cake, Zach. Come on. But when I graduated, I didn't know I was gonna fall into the real estate agent role.
Yeah.
I graduated with a computer science degree. Bounced around different jobs. Was a TA at a school. COVID hit. recalibrated everything, and then got my license, and then 5 years in the business. But I was living below my means the whole time.
Exactly.
Kind of like what you're doing. I had a house. I was renting a unit, and it was 5 apartments. My brother and I were renting 2 of the rooms. The other 3 were roommates.
Yep.
But it was family. It was friends. So living way below my means for many years, was able to stack a nest egg in order to be able to able to purchase that same property I rented for many years and do exactly. So it's funny that you're like the exact replica of myself is right across the table.
I love that. I love that so much.
But I love your approach because, to be able to walk out there and say, I come from privilege, right? I wasn't high class or low class. I was in the middle, but let me go into the workforce. Let me get my own, and let me try to see what I can get. And what you did, just starting. A lot of people don't do that. Exactly. A lot of people don't even put themselves in the fire to be able to get to a position where you're at, just to have a multifamily. Yeah. But even I like the mission in regards to keeping tenants for a long time, not having them pay an exorbitant amount in rent. It's different, and I've heard there was someone else that was on this podcast. It was Lockman. I forgot his first name now, but Lockman, his family name, he does the same thing. He has multiple properties in downtown Schenectady. Awesome. And he doesn't charge market value, but he charges a fair value in his eyes. He's had those tenants for life.
Exactly. Exactly correct.
And moved them from building to building whenever they needed to of his buildings. So seems like you're on the same path.
Yeah, I appreciate everything you're saying, man. And that's exactly it. You treat people right, they'll treat you right.
Right.
Bingo.
Right.
Yeah. Khadijah, are you treating us right?
I'll tell you right now.
Saying a question.
She's treating me right. I'll tell you that.
Max is one of my faves, so.
That's my best friend right there. You be careful.
I could tell you paid her off to make you look good. Khadijah, do you have any questions for this gentleman here?
Yeah, I have one last one because, again, I know the entire process.
Question she knows the answer to.
Can you just tell us what was the process, without saying any names?
Yeah.
But what was the process of you finding a contractor? Because even myself, as also a fellow landlord, and being in the real estate game too, it's still hard. It doesn't make it
terrible
any easier trying to find someone that you can rely on.
No, absolutely agreed. So the very first thing I needed to find a contractor was leveraged my team. I went to my team of realtors and said, who has quality people that you can recommend? And I'm going to intentionally avoid saying names because sometimes, no matter how wonderful and trustworthy a person is, they come up with bad names. So
it's part of the business.
Yes, it is. So I have a mutual friend through the team who I brought in who does remodels to talk about doing the remodel and such. But this person is excellent and would have done an excellent job, but expensive. I would not consider them your rental unit refinishing. They're your forever home. You want everything to be beautiful refinishing. More power to them.
Big difference.
Yeah, but it was just more money than I wanted to spend. So then I got someone else through. I asked for some names. I got one. I got someone else through to look at everything, and I said, I want a quote for if you're just going to do the necessary work, which is the floor and the ceiling, right? Make it livable again. And I also want a quote for if we're going to fix everything up and make it look pretty. So I didn't get the quote. A few days go by, I call back, hey man, just checking in, oh, so sorry. I'm out of work. I'm out of job right now. I'll get it to you either tonight or Monday morning, one of the two. Monday morning rolls around, give him a call, don't get an answer. I don't get a quote from this guy for 2 weeks. Wow. Eventually I give up on him. I'm pulling my hair out. So I go to a fellow teammate and complain, not even looking for help, just, so now she would like me to drop names. So I go to Khadijah and to complain
there you go.
And say, Khadijah, I'm so mad. I'm going to actually pull out my hair. Fist is through the door. I can't find someone. And she was like, okay, so I have someone that I don't think she knew very well, but she was like, my clients have a friend. Here's a card. Give him a call. And him, I will name to the ends of the earth. Wow. Please Google and use Philip Cullum, Cullum of Cullum Contracting, and tell him that Max Fay sent you. So I call him up and I say, can you get me a quote? Here's what I'm considering. He comes in, he looks at everything. Nicest guy in the world. Oh my God, I love him to death. And so I ask him about all these things, and he's like, and we'll need a plumber. I have a plumber, don't even worry about it. We'll need an electrician. I have an electrician, don't even worry about it. He has an entire crew of people he subcontracts out to. However, I can say, you can quote me on this, he is not upcharging you for their services. If you're worried about it and you tell him you're worried about it, he'll say, fine, here's the card, call him yourself. I'm just trying to make your life easier. And I let him just make my life easier. He managed the entire project. Wow. So I called him. I asked him. He gave me a quote of around $50,000. He gave me the 2 quotes, but the one to fix everything up was around $50,000. It was better than I got from the first guy for sure, but my wife and I really didn't want to spend more than $40,000. That was our number. And so I came to him with that, and I said, hey, man, we were really looking to only spend around $40,000 at the most for this. How can we work with those numbers? What can we do? And I kind of already had some stuff in my mind, but I wanted to hear what he said. He said, not a problem at all. Here's what I think is most important for you. Here's what I think makes a ton of sense. Here's stuff that I think you'd like but don't really need. I don't think you need this extra outlet here. You need this one to come up to code. I don't think you need this one. Let's cut that one out. We're done tearing down a wall. So he walks me through it. He talks himself not down to $40,000, down to $32,000. Wow. He costs himself $8,000 of business because he knows that $40,000 was my maximum, not what I was looking to spend. And it was not a give me 16 now, 16 when the job's done. He split it up into 10 checks. I paid him like $3,000 at a time, $3,300 at a time. He ran out of money, needed more materials. Hey Max, can you cut me another check? So I slowly and steadily paid him throughout the entire job. And if I stopped paying him, he'd stop coming, I'm sure, and even things that weren't on him. I had a loose step, and I came on my back porch, leading up to my back porch. I come back one day, and it's fixed. I'm like, did you do this? He's like, yeah, we were walking up the steps. I noticed it was loose. I rebuilt it for you. I was like, what do you mean you rebuilt it?
Yes.
Like, everything. And if I was like, hey, let me show you this other problem, gone instantly.
Look at that.
I loved him to death. Good with my dog. Good with my wife. Good with my kid. I loved him so much. I took him out to dinner when everything was said and done. And we are doing much more. We've become full-blown partners on everything. If he needs a realtor, he's calling me. And I've sent him to like 9 people. I hope that every single person listening to this podcast calls Philip Cullum of Cullum Contracting, Cullum.
That's the
I love
best
it.
ad.
I love it.
Yeah, he has to clip this and use that for all his marketing.
He doesn't market to anyone, so I'm doing it for him. He'll take anyone who calls him, but he doesn't reach out to people because he's tired and old and he doesn't like to deal with it. But he loves what he does, and he does a dynamite job.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. It sounds like you love him more than your wife.
Oh, I hope she's not listening.
I'm telling.
It has to be people like that. It's hard to come across, but
absolutely,
when you do, you have to keep them close.
And to plug us for a second, when I bought my home, I did not use a real estate agent because I bought it from a fellow family member. I did not get a home inspection. I did not use a real estate agent. And I cannot stress this enough. That was one of the biggest mistakes of my life. Wow. I don't think much would have changed if I had used an agent, but my mindset would have changed for sure. So I definitely wouldn't have given them any less. Like the negotiating, that was all done. I was buying a $130,000 house for $90,000. I'm not complaining at all. But there were things about the house that I didn't know before I bought it that a home inspection would have revealed. Again, I wouldn't have renegotiated, but it would have been great to know. The seller's attorney held up the deal for like 8 months. So I should have bought that. Yeah, look at Khadijah's face. I should have bought that house. Instead of in January of 2024, we were good to go in like July of 23. Something ridiculous. I don't remember the specific dates. Again, it's family, so I didn't want to lean on them too hard. Yeah. But I would just be like, hey, from my end, everything's good to go. What's going on? we're waiting on our attorney to ... And their attorney went ghost. They had already paid him, and because they had already paid him, they didn't want to go somewhere else and lose that money.
Yeah.
And they just didn't know what to do. And, not for nothing, I'm still paying a little bit of rent. They're still paying their mortgage.
Yeah.
They're losing money this whole time.
Yeah.
My father at a family gathering finally one day goes, have you told him either do it or pay me back? And I thought to myself, has that not been said? Like, how much pedal has been to the metal here? Because I'd be knocking on their fucking door, I hope I can say that. But so she's like, oh, yeah, I should do that. Calls him, either leaves a voicemail, give me my money or deal with this. Mm-hmm. One day later, we clear the close.
Yeah.
And that will not happen to you if you have an agent. At least not an agent of no one on your home team. I'll tell you that. An agent of any substance. 8 months, that's obnoxious. That doesn't happen. So little things like knowing what lawyers are good, knowing what contractors are good, knowing why the home inspection is important, and being fully informed of its value prior to waiving it. Because if you want to waive it. I get it. If you're really not going to change anything, if it changes nothing and you feel like it, okay, I understand. But the value of being fully informed on everything involved in the process prior to doing it, that's what you're actually paying for.
Yep.
As well as managing the transaction so that no lawyer puts you off for months on end.
It's crazy.
I like that message.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking back when I purchased mine, obviously I'm an agent.
Yep.
and the buyer, but I had never given it a thought to waive the inspection despite me knowing the updates that were made to that building.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of that simple reason of what you said, just being knowledgeable of other things and not being biased just because you think it's good.
Yeah.
Have someone who's unbiased, who's not looking at it from, your perspective, and is just looking at it for what it is.
Exactly.
To tell you, what's wrong.
Yep.
Or what you can plan for in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So inspections are very important.
100%
Unless you know, like you said, unless you've been through it a bunch of times, you're a flipper, you're a contractor.
There are definitely situations. I've done multiple deals, actually. In fact, funnily enough, most of my deals are inspections waived. But I'm dealing largely, so far in my business, I've dealt with kind of three kinds of people. People who are trying to buy and sell, they always get their inspections, right? People who are trying to get into the game the same way we have, they also are always inspection. But my largest part of clientele, just kind of coincidentally, is out-of-city investors who are buying known distressed off-market properties for next to nothing. You're not going through and saying, oh, well, this and this and it's a bit. They're already selling you that property for next to nothing. Exactly. You deal with it when you're done. As a general rule of thumb. So, and that's something I'm really going to be heavily invested in my future, is buying cheaper off-market multifamily properties and having Phil redo them to complete new standards, spend half the money I would have if I bought it fresh and ready, but I have to sit on it for a few months, and make the city prettier.
I like that.
That's it.
Yeah. Recharge Schenectady.
Oh, man.
Yeah. See that plug?
I love Recharge. I'm on that newsletter, man. Absolutely. 100%.
Well, Max, this was a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
I mean, just learning who you are, but also your journey.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Just to know that another young person who's coming out, looking to start their own business, but also grow within the city and make it prettier is beautiful within itself, but is buying properties to not, charge an arm and a leg. Is buying properties to also have that thought in mind that other person who's renting from your property can eventually buy a home. Because like you started this podcast, some people are going to buy homes, some people are not, and that's okay. But sometimes if you give that opportunity from the beginning, renting less to be able to afford something that's more in the future, that's how they do it. That's how we've done it.
Yeah.
That's probably how you've done it too.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
So.
No, I'm a firm believer home ownership is a human right, and I'm not going to be a reason that you don't have the ability to buy a home. 100%.
Right.
Look at that.
Right.
There has to be more people like you, Max.
I agree.
There you go. With that being said, Khadija, do you have any last words?
No, that's it. Thank you for coming. I'm so excited that you're here. So thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you for coming as well. Keep buying homes for cheap.
Oh, I will.
Thank you, guys.